Hey everyone, welcome back to another Jazz Drummer Q-Tip of the week. And yes, I am in shorts again this week because it is hot down here in Texas, but the show must go on. I have another exciting, well, it's not a lesson, it's actually an interview. But for those who don't know me, my name is Quincy Davis. I put out weekly lessons that I know will be helpful to you, so please consider subscribing. And of course, if you enjoy this interview, please let me know by pressing that like button. So this week, I was able to sit down with a neuroscientist. Yes, a neuroscientist who's actually also an incredible jazz guitarist who earned a second bachelor's in jazz guitar performance here at the University of North Texas. Not here, but where I teach. And so he came up with a system. And actually before that, he earned a bachelor's in Chile, where he's from, in speech pathology, and then earned a master's in neuroscience. And he actually graduated top of the class, valedictorian. So he's extremely bright, extremely knowledgeable, and was able to come up with a system that is you can apply it no matter what you're working on. Of course, he used it for excelling and getting better at playing guitar, but he's helped hundreds of students all over the world with the fields that they were studying. So he came up with this system that he's going to share, and you'll hear all about it in this interview. So you got to watch the whole thing. The system starts around the half-hour mark, but before that, you're going to learn all about him and some of the kind of concepts and approaches that he used to kind of come up with this extremely useful system. I've already started using some of these things, and let me tell you, for practicing and trying to get better and cutting down on the time that you need to get better, it's really tremendous. So I encourage you to watch the whole thing. I've created timestamps, so in case you want to jump around, feel free to do that. But I also encourage you to make sure you watch the whole thing because you're going to learn so much, and it's extremely clear. I got to make sure I give a quick shout out to my students, Alex Peavy House, EJ Lee, and Kohei Sakai. You guys helped me so much with this interview, the camera work and the schlepping, so thank you. If you're ready, I'm ready. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. Lucian, Peter, Frank, Changwoo, you guys ready? Rita, Joe War Booker, Papa Dukes, y'all ready? Let's do this. Practicing the brain, learning more efficiently, getting better, long-term memory. All these words are key words that are kind of encapsulate what we're going to be talking about today. And I am really excited and happy to have Mr. Mario Wellmann. It's not Wellman in his country. The way he pronounces it is Wellmann. He's from Chile, and I've known him for, I guess, now about 2 years, even though he's been in school for 4 years here.
3.
3 years.
Yeah.
He just finished his undergrad here at the University of North Texas, but this is his second undergrad degree because he got, what you're going to find out, he got a previous undergrad and master's in his home country in Chile in some of the topics that we're going to be discussing, and he figured out a way to combine them with his amazing studies of guitar. He's a great guitarist, as you're going to hear.
Thank you.
So it's a really unique situation that we're in. You can speak to the brain aspects of what we're doing as musicians, but also speak to the musical aspects of what we're doing and performance aspects. So this is exciting. You got to watch this whole thing. Everyone can learn from this. It's not just limited to just the drums. It's anything you want to get good at. He's your man. He's got a system. He's got it all worked out. You can see. He's put a lot of study into this. So, Mr. Mario Wellmann, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Quincy, for having me. It's really a pleasure. Really looking forward to talk with you.
Yes, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Could you just kind of fill us in on your background and your journey of how you got to this point?
Yeah, so it's been a long journey.
Yeah.
I'm from Chile, specifically from Chillán, which is like small town in the southern part of the country.
Okay.
And I got my bachelor's degree, my first bachelor's from Universidad del Bío Bío, sorry, which is a public university in Chile, very prestigious.
Yeah.
And my first bachelor's was in speech-language pathology.
Okay.
So I never thought that I was going to do all the stuff that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And I started playing guitar when I was like 13, 14, around that time. And then I was completely self-taught, like no teacher or anything.
Yeah.
I didn't play jazz at that time or anything. I didn't know jazz at all.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started my bachelor's in 2007, I think.
Okay.
I'm 33.
I was going to say, we don't have to tell the people how old you are, but you already let the cat out the bag, so that's good.
Doesn't matter. So that year, I started studying like music, like more formally.
Okay.
In my local music school, and I was doing speech-language pathology and guitar, electric guitar, not jazz or anything like that. Yeah, yeah, and some theory, you know. I did that for like 2 years, and while I was doing the bachelor's degree, and then a friend of mine, Alejandro Valenzuela, he showed me Grant Green and Jim Hall, and I was like, whoa.
Two of the greatest.
Yeah, and my main goal at the time was to play more like fusion stuff because I was playing rock. Yeah. I was like, oh, I want to like get some of the like the jazz language, you know, and incorporate it in my playing to play more modern stuff. Yeah. And I ended up playing bebop. You know, like that's how it is.
Yeah, that's the foundation.
Yeah. So I started like going to a different city, Concepcion, which is like a bigger city in the southern part of my country, to take jazz lessons.
Yeah.
And I did that for like a year and a half. Had to stop because of my bachelor's. Got super busy.
Okay.
Finished my bachelor's, and I was like, whoa. I don't want to study music in Chile. I would love to go like abroad to study jazz. Yeah. Hopefully the U.S. of course. And it was hard, and you have like the resources or the money. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna take a middle step. You know, neuroscience.
Neuroscience.
Yeah. So I applied for like a hardcore neural.
That's a pretty easy topic to slide into.
Oh, sure.
Neuroscience is nothing.
I mean, I was doing speech language pathology.
It's related.
Yeah, they're very related.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't really happy about the therapeutic portion. Of that specific practice, yeah. So I decided that I wanted to go more like theoretical and research oriented, and that's why I opted for neuroscience. So I applied to like one of the most hardcore programs in my country, and I went there. I moved to Valparaiso, which is one of like the coolest cities in Chile, like coastal city.
Yeah.
Tons of art.
Yep.
And then I stopped playing guitar.
Okay.
For like several years. I play like just a bit now. No. Like science takes all all your time.
Wow.
I had to read tons of papers, like tons of papers, and like perform experiments. I was doing several like research techniques in the lab, like microscopes and like electrodes, like all that stuff, like hardcore neurobiology.
Wow.
And finished my master's several years after.
Was it 2 years or 3?
Yeah, it was 2 years, but I stayed in the lab because I was like involved in several projects related to epilepsy and how like that sort of condition develops in the brain, like how emerges, what happens to your brain when you have epilepsy, and what happens before you have your first seizure, which is like some sort of it's like kind of a complicated topic.
Yeah.
Because like the condition develops and you don't have any symptoms or signs, and then one day you have a seizure.
And then it's with you the rest of your life.
It could repeat, and
yeah.
And if it repeats, you would technically could have epilepsy, and it could like be the consequence of like several different causes, you know?
Right.
Like brain tumors or like some sort of head trauma. Well,
yeah,
I was studying that
right.
and like brain plasticity and how like neurons change when you learn something.
Yeah.
You know, from a cellular and a
I just
molecular
have one question.
perspective. Yeah.
What's a neuron?
Oh.
I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to go there. We're not gonna.
Okay.
We're not going to get into the weeds. But so you're deep in this study.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
And I understand that you also, during this time, you wrote several articles on different topics.
Yeah, so I had a nice scholarship when I was doing my master's, so I had the opportunity to like say yes to all the projects that were offered to me.
Yeah.
So I was working in different things at the same time. Central nervous system development and epilepsy and brain plasticity, and how a type of cell in the brain, astrocytes, okay, I'm not going to give more details on all that, change when you develop epilepsy, and how they are involved also in changing neural networks when you're learning something.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was doing all that stuff, no guitar.
Right.
Sadly.
So where does the guitar come into play again?
When I finished my master's, I was like, yeah, I love science. This is really cool, but I want to play. I need to play.
Yeah.
Like, you know how it is. In order to be
fulfilled
and healthy, like from a mental
sane.
Sane, I had to play.
Yeah.
So I decided that I was going to apply to a music school in the U.S. to study jazz guitar.
Okay.
And I kind of created a timeline. I was like, in 2 years, I'm going to apply to different schools in the U.S. I'm going to prepare myself for the auditions.
Right.
I took lessons with Mario Wellmann, which is, and also Jorge Diaz, two of the like most important guitar players in my country.
Right.
And I prepared my auditions for 2 years. I applied to NYU first, got in, didn't work, money.
So, but during this time, so to prepare yourself from where you were, after you finished your master's, the level that you were at, you were playing at, to the point where you were able to get into a couple different schools, including obviously here, University of North Texas, you applied some techniques that you felt were helping you improve and learn at a faster, more efficient rate, right?
Yeah, so when I finished my master's, I was teaching at different universities in Valparaiso, and because of that, I didn't have much time to practice.
Right.
So I had this idea that I should be able to practice like 1 hour, 2 hours a day, tops. And I was like, okay, how should I practice to like squeeze this time and really learn what I want to learn?
Yeah.
And I realized that even though I knew some neuroscience because of my training, I didn't know how to practice better. And I asked myself, like, what can I do? What can I learn to learn better?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I started reading a ton, like hundreds of papers about cognitive science, psychology, learning sciences in general. And then I started connecting the dots between neuroscience, like the things that I did in the lab with like brain slices, with the psychology. And what I did first was like, I read a ton of papers, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to try different techniques that were well described in the literature, like retrieval practice and self-explanation, verbalization, distributed practice. There's a ton of there are a ton of learning techniques that you could use to make your learning process more efficient. So I became kind of obsessed with that, and I read, I mean, about so many techniques that I started putting them together, like 3-4 techniques in one practice session. And I realized that I could develop a practice system. Yeah, I created a practice system that I call Achieving Mastery.
Yeah.
And I started using that to prepare myself for the auditions. But in the, like, while I was doing that, I realized that I had friends that were interested on it, and I started like showing them this. My first, how you say it, like experiment, you know, was my brother.
Okay.
And I taught him this system to prepare himself to be able to prepare his like Chilean SAT to study at college level. And we had like a control condition because he took the SAT before he learned all of this.
Okay.
You know, and he
so
did
you saw the results without.
And then he prepared himself, studied like very systematically for like 3 months. 3 or 4 months. And like his scores went up like crazy.
Wow.
Like crazy high. I'm talking like almost like perfect scores in 2 of the test. 2 out of the like we take in Chile 3 to 4 tests to apply for university, and he took 3.
Yeah.
And 2 of those he almost got perfect scores.
Wow.
And he had like not very good scores before that.
That's
so
crazy.
I was like, that was like one of the main like
proved
like that this system was working. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to start teaching this. And I taught it in like college level. I created a program at Universidad del Valparaíso in which I taught first like freshmen how to study.
Wow.
We had,
and this is before you came to the U.S.?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And
wow.
That's how I prepared myself to for the auditions.
Right.
And it worked.
It worked. There you are.
I would say one of the most, how would you say it? Like one of the really beautiful things about doing this is that you can teach and show people how to learn better, like
regardless of what
the field. Yeah, exactly.
The field, right?
Yeah, any field that you're working on or trying to learn, you can like apply these techniques, and they're gonna work because they're not based in the content. Yeah, they're based in how we create new memories and learn new information. So, when I was in my country, and like while in the U.S., I taught like hundreds of students how to learn, but they're like not musicians, most of them.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, different fields like engineering, you know, stuff like that, like math, physics.
That's very exciting, and that's why you're here. That's absolutely why you're here. I'm here to learn. I know the camera guys, EJ and Alex, want to learn. My students. I think everybody's going to benefit from listening to this. So, shall we get into
let's do it.
Your system and your techniques?
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about a little bit of why you feel like it's important for us, specifically musicians, to practice more efficiently. What do we get from that approach? Yeah,
so we could enumerate like a ton of reasons to argue why we should practice better. You know, like I want to just like be a better musician or like learn faster, you know. But there's one argument, time. Time. That I think it's the most important thing. In like what we do, it's bound to time. Like, for example, you could get a call, I could get a call, and like, something like, hey, Quincy, we're gonna do this Bad Powell tribute, it's in 2 days or 3 days. So here's the music. You can read the music, of course, right? But it's cool when you have some of that stuff memorized, so you're well prepared to variation, surprises when you're playing, and you're like more present instead of like reading the music, because like reading is gonna like use some of your cognitive power, and you're not gonna be able. It's impossible to like pay attention to the music that you're reading and also like listen to the sax player that's doing, that's really hard.
Yes.
So
it limits how engaged you can be in the performance.
And also like, I would say nowadays it's very common that like band leaders ask their musicians to memorize the music.
Yeah.
To have everything memorized, so they're like completely into the music when they're playing.
Yes.
So, time.
Yes.
Right. So when someone asks us to practice some music or learn some music for a gig, that has a deadline, right? And that implies that you should practice in a way that gets you the most out of your practice sessions.
Yes.
Within that period of time, right? And the question is, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, what are the conditions of practice that are gonna make me learn the most or learn faster, so I am the most prepared for
when
the
I
gig?
get to the gig,
Right?
Yeah.
So I would say that's the main argument for
Why
practicing better. And I would say it's a huge argument for professional musicians. Like we get the call normally like a week before, 2 days before, sometimes 24 hours before the gig.
If that, sometimes,
And
it's true.
You have very limited time to absorb as much music as you can.
Yeah.
So do we have the tools to do that?
Right. Fun little side story. I mean, it's happened many times, but this was kind of a time when it really caught me off guard. I was in the airport traveling back to Winnipeg at the time where I lived. And I was traveling back for some performances at Jazz Festival with some local artists, some really good local artists. But I get a call from a manager, somebody's manager, Christian McBride's manager, who says their drummer, the great Lenny White, couldn't make it. He couldn't make this gig that was happening in the next day, basically. Are you available? I said yes, but at the same time I'm thinking, I don't know if I can do this in one day.
There's a ton of work.
A lot of music. Yeah. And so I could have used these. I think the gig went cool, but I think I could have used some of your techniques.
I mean, it makes you, when you know how to change your practice habits to like learn better.
Right.
That gives you like some certainty that you're going to be
some
like
confidence,
present in the moment, playing the right stuff for the gig.
Yeah.
It's like reducing the uncertainty is really important.
Yes, and it's everything when you get to a gig and you feel confident. You've spent time studying, practicing, working on it, and you can just be, as you said, present.
I think it's important to know that expert performance is completely tied to long-term memory. And there is a ton of research, like countless papers, that show that the more you know, the more knowledge you've stored in your long-term memory. Of course, I'm not like talking about like hardcore memory repetition. No, I'm talking about information that it's tied to a context, like. So, for example, in this piece of music, I have this groove. What can I play over that groove or over this clave? That like context is super important. It's not hardcore memory. It's information that it's tied to a different context.
It's not just random memory.
Exactly.
I understand.
It's tied to situations that are specific to certain types of music, genres, styles. Whatever. So when we're performing any area, I'm not just thinking about jazz or music specifically, memory plays a huge role because you're going to draw from your long-term memory to make decisions while you're playing.
Right.
Right? Like long-term memory is like the roadmap.
Yeah.
Like, can you play that bebop phrase if you don't know it by memory? Not really. We play what we know.
Yeah.
And of course, improvisation is the creation of new melodies, grooves, whatever you can think of, live.
Yeah.
We're using information that we already know to build that new thing.
Right.
Right? So memory is the core system from which we draw information to create new things, right?
Yeah.
And it's not, as I mentioned, it's not only for music. It's like that's demonstrated for chess, for reading comprehension, math, physics,
language,
sports, all like I would say it's a basic rule. The more you know, the better you perform.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting in chess. There is a ton of research, like hundreds of papers about this, and it's the relationship between long-term memory and performance and playing, like being a good chess player, a grandmaster. It's very well documented, and like chess players know that. They know that they need to memorize thousands of moves if they want to like reach certain level. But I don't think that's very clear in the concept of jazz. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Maybe I'm being a little bit traditionalist, but
well, no. I think that just kind of relating what you're saying to my experience, I do know that when I know the music, I'm a different player than when I kind of know the music, or when I kind of know the style, or when I can play it, but if I don't know it, then I can't show my full potential. I can't be my full, I can't be at the level that I know I can be at if I really know it. And when I know it, I'm connecting these ideas, I'm connecting the situation I'm in to other situations or contexts that I've put myself in, or I've been in, or experienced in my practicing or other situations. It's there. And so I totally relate to what you're saying.
There's something that you mentioned that's super important when you said, I take something and I put it in a different context because I know it works. That's called transfer in like learning sciences. And it's I would say, best demonstration that you really know something. That's something that we should all strive to do when we're practicing. Transfer information, like, oh, I know this phrase. What if I know this phrase in 4? What if I play in 3? Like stuff like that. Variation is really, really important in that specific regard.
Wow. Okay. Great.
Yeah. So long-term memory, key component of expert performance. And so the next question would be, for me, this is how I would frame it. If long-term memory is that important, how can I create like memories that I know I'm going to be able to retrieve and use in the future? Like create memories that are stored and I can use.
You can access those memories.
Exactly. Access in the future. So that's when learning techniques become really important.
This might be a dumb question. It probably is a dumb question, but it's going to be a good dumb question.
I'm sure.
Where does short-term memory, before we get into the how, then the techniques, where does short-term memory come into play?
So memory is a system that's composed by different subsystems or storage systems. Short-term memory is one of those storage systems. I think a good way to understand the function of short-term memory is to do a little game. So
I'm always up for games.
Okay, cool. So let me think. I'm gonna give you a sequence of numbers, short, and I want you to recall it,
Yes.
7, 5, 3, 1, 2, 4.
7, 5, 3, 1, 2, 4.
Yeah. So what you just did, you took that information, put it in your short-term memory, and use that storage system to say it again. And that information is going to be active for a super short period of time,
Yes.
and then it's going to fade.
Yeah.
Because the short-term memory.
It's already fading. I can feel it.
Yeah. So yeah, because you're using now your short-term memory to listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So and
Oh.
it's a really small storage system.
Yeah.
So you have to take the information, move it away from short-term memory, and put whatever you want to process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So, for example, another good game is to like say numbers backwards. I'm not gonna ask you phone number because
I'm
they're
already
gonna
stressed.
steal it. They're gonna steal it and call you.
You can call me if you have some money you want to send me. It's cool.
Some gigs too.
Some gigs,
Yeah.
whatever.
So, a task like that, like having a string of numbers and then like say them backwards. In order to do that, you're using your short-term memory. So, in simple words,
Yeah.
short-term memory is the storage system we use to think. When we
Wow.
want to perform a task and solve a problem, we put information in our short-term memory and then use that information to perform.
Oh, to answer. I
So,
see. Interesting.
short-term memory is what we're going to use when we're reading music, when we're reading changes.
When you're trying to figure out something.
Exactly, and like processing the information.
Process, yeah.
Yeah. For example, when you're learning something new, that information is going to be processed first in your short-term memory.
Yeah.
And there you're going to make some links with your with information that's stored in your long-term memory and
Yeah.
connect it.
Ah.
And that's when you learn something like really, really well. When you're able to connect new information with what you already know. You know?
Yeah, I do.
And that's a part of the first phase in creating a new memory called encoding. We're going to talk about that when we talk about the techniques.
Well, let's jump into the techniques.
let's do it.
I think this is a good segue.
I would say tool number one, create a vision
Create a
of
vision.
how you want to sound.
Okay.
Like, who do you want to be? You know what I mean?
I do.
Like, you want to sound like, I don't know, in my case,
Yeah.
like as a guitar player, I know that I want to like have an articulation like similar to Clifford Brown and Mike Moreno. You know,
Wow.
drawing for very different, you know,
Yes.
places in the history of jazz,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Or when it comes to swinging and like
Feel.
playing it straight ahead, like feel Pete Bernstein. That's my main reference. So
He's
when I'm
pretty good.
creating,
You can hear him on my latest album, actually, as a matter of fact.
Whoa.
Q-Vision. Yeah, he plays on, I think, two tracks, maybe three. No, I think 2 tracks.
I'll have to
Two
listen to
tracks.
that.
Oh, man, it's so great. Great. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was a shameless plug. I'm sorry.
So, I would say when I created my vision, because I would recommend everyone to write it down. Like take a piece of paper or turn on your computer or
Yeah.
tablet, whatever. Write your vision down. Like think, how do I want to sound in 5 years? Right? And like be specific. Add detail to that. Like
Yeah.
language-wise, feel-wise,
Yeah.
articulation, dynamics, sound.
Right.
Like go for it and describe it with detail, because that's going to inform the next tool,
Okay.
practice topics, right? So you have, like, I have some sort of vision. I want to swing like Pete Bernstein and have the articulation of Clifford Brown
Yeah.
and the language of Bad Powell. That's an insane combination.
I love it.
Yeah, right?
Good combination. though.
Yeah. So I would need to transcribe some Bad Powell, right? To
Yes.
get that language.
Yes.
So that's a practice topic.
Yes.
And then I am probably going to need to play along with some Pete Bernstein recordings to get the swing feel,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then copy the articulation of Clifford Brown from like some solos. That's what you need to do. Those are your practice topics now. So
Okay.
you're tributing to that vision that you have. So you're working towards whatever you want to be in the future.
And you're being very intentional
Exactly.
with what and how you're practicing.
Exactly.
And why you want to practice.
Exactly. So that vision is going to be the energy that's gonna push you in one specific direction.
I got you. Yeah.
You know? So vision, tool one.
Yes.
very specific.
Vision, yep.
Write it down. It doesn't work if you like say it out loud or you think about it. No, we have to verbalize what we want to do. There is a ton of research about that too. Like language is the way we think. We think.
Saying it out loud, speaking it.
Yeah. Talking, writing is thinking. And talking and writing forces you to be organized in your thinking too. Right?
You know, that actually might explain why sometimes I feel after teaching a lesson, especially if it's a really good lesson, I feel inspired and clearer on what I was trying to teach and how I can do it better. And actually my practice after that is actually a lot better because I've kind of verbalized it.
Yeah, and you
broken
showed
it down and
your student what's the goal, and now you know the goal for yourself too.
I've broken down the goal for them.
Yeah.
Now the goal is clear for me, even when I practice.
And then you go shed.
And I go practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So second tool, unpack your practice topics like a list.
Yeah.
I would say like a grocery shopping list. I don't know how to say groceries. Yeah, whatever. So
you can say it in Spanish. Say it in Spanish.
Lista de supermercado.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So like a list.
Sounds better in that language anyway.
So you make a list of topics.
Yeah.
You know, like a shopping list. Bad Powell developed language. Clifford Brown articulation, Pete Bernstein swing feel, and you can go I would like to play patterns like Kurt Rosenwinkel. You know, you can go forever, but keep it realistic because you have to your ultimate goal is to put this in your practice session,
right? And
your practice session is not infinite.
You
know, it's like you have you're limited by time again. Time.
You
know.
So,
second tool, unpack a list of topics.
Right.
Okay. And then, after you have your list, tool number 3, write down your goals.
Okay.
And be specific, because that's going to inform the expectations you have for your practice session, right?
Yes.
So, for example, you say, I said, I want to have some of the language that Bad Powell played, right? So, I'm going to transcribe a solo or like some sort of phrase, whatever, right?
Yep.
What's the goal there? I want to, for example, you can write down the goal, and you should write down the goal.
Yeah.
To transcribe 8 bars of Bad Powell solo on Celia. We're talking about Celia just an hour.
Oh, nice.
So there's a ton of nice language there.
Yeah.
Right? You write that down, that's your goal.
You got to get that run too.
There's several in the articulation.
The break.
The break.
The solo break.
Yeah.
Check it out. Anyway, go ahead.
Killer solo. So you write down your goal, and that's going to inform how you start and how you end that practice session for that specific topic.
Okay.
So I'm going to learn 8 bars. Period.
Done.
And it's very important to have a specific expectation with a way of measure it. Like
an outcome?
Like an outcome, or like some sort of
barometer.
Parameter to track.
Right.
Because, and I think this is one of the biggest mistakes when musicians and students practice. When we practice, we want to feel good, fulfilled at the end of the practice session.
Right.
How do you get that sensation? By completing something. And in order to complete something and have you want to have the dopamine rush. You know, you know, now I can do this that I couldn't do an hour ago, right? The only way to feel that is by setting an expectation. You have to set an ending, something to track. Right. You need a reference. And goal setting allows you to have that.
Realistic goals.
Exactly. So you say, you can say, as I mentioned, 8 bars of Bad Powell, 20 minutes. I don't know, that's going to depend of how advanced you are, right?
Level, yeah.
But if you're not that advanced, maybe 2 bars in 20 minutes, right? And you play it slow first.
Yes.
Analyze it, and then you can in the process or before you do that process, you can set more specific goals. Like you transcribe the line, and then you analyze the the relationship between the line and the harmonic
harmony,
context,
yeah.
right? Then you get down the articulation. So yeah, there you have three very specific goals.
And you're getting a lot out of that, whatever that 2 measures or
Yeah.
4 measures, 8 measures.
And I would say, and this is my personal opinion,
Yep.
we get way more from practicing when we focus on the details.
Yeah.
And we get that Charlie Parker, articulation,
Yeah.
and the dynamics and like those ghost notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Instead of like just getting the notes and playing everything like flat.
Right.
That's not how the language works. That's not the tradition.
Right.
So
It's kind of like, and I always equate learning music, learning jazz, to learning a language. When you learn a language, you don't want to sound like you're reading from a book, a language book. You want to get the nuance. You actually want to sound like a person speaking the language who's a native. So there's a lot of nuance and subtleties in the way natives speak their language that you want to catch. You don't want to just sound like you're reading from a textbook. So
and like getting the accents and
That's
the
right.
dynamics and
That's
the
right.
articulation, that's getting the flow,
yeah.
and it's like getting the accent of a native speaker, which is really hard. Tell me about it. Speaking, it is not my first language.
Well,
Yeah.
but clearly you focused on the right things because you sound very natural. It's like,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very clear and So you've obviously spent some time working on that.
Yeah, too, of course. Yeah. So, third tool, as I mentioned, goal setting. There is an acronym, that's how you say it, for writing goals.
Okay.
It's called S.M.A.R.T goals, specific, measurable, I have it by achievable, relevant, and time-bound, like a deadline.
Smart.
Yeah, S.M.A.R.T.
Smart.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Say it again.
Specific.
See, my short-term
Yeah.
memory ain't too good.
Smart. S for
Not too
specific.
smart.
M for measurable. A
Measurable?
for measurable. So
Oh, measurable.
Measurable. Yeah.
Measurable.
Need to practice my English.
Yeah, that's all good. That's all good.
A for achievable.
Achievable.
R for relevant,
Relevant.
and T time-bound.
Time-bound.
Yeah, with a deadline.
And
It's
this first one was specific?
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you follow those 5,
Yeah.
how you say, like, ideas? I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. You should get very
Concept.
nice goals.
Tool number 4.
Number 4,
Okay.
distributed practice. Distributed practice is a learning technique, very well studied. Very well studied.
Distributed practice. Okay.
Yeah. There's a ton of research about it.
Mm.
I think it's in order to understand how it works, it's a good idea to contrast it with what's not distributed practice.
Okay.
What isn't distributed practice? Cramming. And
We've all done it.
Yeah, we've all done it, and it's very common among musicians and among like everyone. Like,
Yeah.
if you go to college, any area,
That's
you're
right.
gonna cram
That's right.
a ton of stuff the day before your test, the
Yeah.
day before your exam, whatever.
Yeah.
So this is the trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
When you cram, you improve your performance for a limited period of time,
Right.
right? And that change fades really fast. We all know that.
Mm.
So we cram for 4 hours.
Alex, have you ever crammed? No.
No,
Not
once.
for a lesson either, right? No. Have you
Only
ever crammed for a
distributed
lesson,
practice.
EJ? Maybe sometimes. Okay. All right, now I'm going to check you in our next lesson. Make sure you didn't cram. No cramming for my lessons.
They have all the summer for practicing with no cramming.
Exactly.
Yeah. The point is, you cram, you improve your performance,
Yeah.
like for a limited period of time after your practice session, right? And then a week after that, it's
Bye-bye.
gone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
So you're not learning because you're not able to remember in the future. And also there's for us musicians, I think there's a very important detail about cramming,
Right.
which is when you cram something,
Uh-huh.
most of the time the knowledge you like acquire, I would say. I don't know. You're not
Yeah.
acquiring it, but like the knowledge you
studied,
have,
yeah.
or you studied for this time, it's very rigid.
What do you
right?
mean?
For example, if I cram like a ton of music today and I
Yeah.
have a gig tomorrow, I'm gonna play exactly
You're,
as I
you're
practiced.
limited to how kind of
No transfer.
Right. I understand.
If the context change,
You're screwed.
we're gonna struggle. You know,
You're gonna get
screwed.
exposed.
Yeah,
a little bit.
exactly.
I got you.
You know,
Yeah.
so jazz is all about variation. It's
Right.
all about creating in the moment. So cramming is not the right tool. I mean, it's not the right tool to learn anything at all. But like for jazz specifically,
Especially if you're trying to be in the moment, perform, and interact with musicians, and yeah.
yeah.
I
So
understand.
knowing that, that I would say that's a bad habit for learning jazz.
Okay.
In general, but for learning music, it's even worse, I would say.
Right.
So
Okay.
what's distributed practice?
No
then?
cramming.
Yeah.
No cramming. That's what he's trying to say. Don't cram.
Let's see. Alex has a lesson with
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
like in a week,
Okay.
and you gave him some practice topic.
Okay.
You're gonna do, I don't know, diddles,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Hey.
Yeah, that's your last video.
My
right?
last
Yeah.
video. There you go. I'll put it up in the right
Yeah.
there, right there.
Yeah.
Diddles.
So
I didn't pay him to say that either.
it worked.
It worked.
So Alex could, I know, we all here at UNT, we have a ton of stuff to do. It's
Yeah.
a very busy
Yeah.
school,
Yes.
right? But the best way to prepare for the lesson would be, I'm gonna plan my practice, my diddle practice for a week or for 5 days. And I'm gonna do, for example, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon or the evening every day. That's 40 minutes total, right? So if we do that for 5 days,
Yes.
so it's 40 minutes multiplied by 5 by 4, that's 20, right?
Right.
It would be 200 minutes of practicing in 5 days. 200 minutes are 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a cramming session. Sounds like a cramming session, right?
Yeah, it
3
could be. Yeah,
hours
if
and
you
20.
just do it. Yeah, the night before.
So what I'm suggesting here is like, don't wait till the day before your lesson.
Distribute it.
Distribute it within a week, within
love it.
5 days.
Yeah.
And so what's the advantage here? The research shows that when someone practiced in a distributed fashion, like what I explained, their performance a week, 2 weeks after those practice sessions is way better. They remember more, and they're like able to transfer and apply more information compared to the student that did 3 hours and 20 minutes in one evening. So if you test those two persons, 2 weeks later, the person who applied distributed practice is going to perform way better.
Wow.
And there's a big difference between those two.
Now we're practicing. We're in the shed.
Yeah,
These are techniques that we apply in the shed.
exactly.
Okay,
So the
great.
first one is external attentional focus. And we talked about this yesterday.
Yes, we did. We did.
And so what's external attentional focus? It's very simple. When we're practicing something, we're attending some specific thing. Our body, the symbol, the sound.
Right.
Like
Or paying attention to something.
Something in like within the thing that we're doing, right?
Yeah.
The research shows that when you're trying to learn a new motor skill,
Yeah.
you should put your attentional focus outside your body, right? So if you're practicing your right symbol, right? Your attention should not be the right symbol
Yeah.
or your hand or anything close to your body.
Yeah.
You should try to focus on the sound. That's I would say the most distal
Yeah.
you can get with like
Right.
playing an instrument, right?
Yeah.
Sound,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that fulfills two goals. First, if you have a vision, you should have a sound that you're
going for.
Exactly. So that's going to help you achieve your vision first. And second, the learning process is going to be more efficient,
Right.
right? So external focus. Okay.
So you're saying practicing my ride cymbal, and instead of paying attention, okay, my pinky's on the thing, and okay, where am I playing on the thing? Blah, 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 blah. Now, where am I? You're saying don't pay attention to the minutia or the minor, the serious details of what I'm doing.
The movement, yeah.
So where do you recommend I put my focus on? So I'm listening more to the sound, but what about like, am I just looking away, or what am I doing while I'm, what do you?
Mirror.
A mirror?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say one of the, I think musicians, we all should have 3 tools in our practice session.
Okay.
In our practice room, sorry.
Okay.
A metronome.
3 physical tools, not the tools that,
physical, tools. A metronome.
Metronome.
Of course, right? A timer.
A timer?
Yeah.
Ooh.
You want to time your practice session. You want to know how much you practice, for how long.
Yeah.
And you want to, if you're going to create a plan and you're going to practice several topics, you want to say, okay, I'm going to practice this topic for 15 minutes. You need a timer.
Yeah, yeah.
And
to be efficient.
If you don't do that, you're not going to move on.
Yeah.
Like I get stuck.
Yeah.
If I don't have something.
You get really into it, and you just want to keep going.
Yeah, and if you keep going, you're going to start cramming.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that.
We want to change topics, right?
Okay.
So, metronome, timer, and a mirror.
A mirror. A mirror.
So, if you're practicing using your right cymbal, you
Yeah.
pay attention to your sound, and if you want to look at something, look at your reflection.
Are we looking at our hand, or are we looking at our body, or what are we looking at in the mirror?
I think that in the mirror, that doesn't, it's not that important.
I see.
The important thing is to take your attention away from your body.
I got you.
Right? So, mirror is the best way to do it. I told you that yesterday, that I've been practicing technique lately, right hand technique.
Yeah.
And when I get the movement and the sensation that I want to have in my right hand when I'm playing, I start watching something.
I see, yeah.
And I don't pay attention to my hand.
Right. I have, in my practice room, also where I do my videos, I have a monitor in front of me where, I'll watch games while I practice, or, I love sports, so once I have whatever down or an idea of what I need to do, whatever repetitive thing I'm trying to practice, I actually do practice that. I also read that not Art Tatum, I can't remember exactly who it was. It was like Nat King Cole or somebody like that, who would read while they're practicing something. They would read, and if they could actually read comfortably, then they knew they had the technique that they were working on.
That's really cool. So when I was studying speech-language pathology, one of the things that I had to learn how to treat different conditions, right?
Yeah.
And some conditions require the patient to make some movement automatic.
Right.
Like you teach the patient how to move their tongue, whatever you're gonna teach the patient, and at some point, this person is able to do it.
Yeah.
But there's another step, which is to make it automatic, right? If you want to make something automatic, you have to perform the action without paying attention. So I remember treating kids with swallowing problems.
Yeah.
And I showed them how to put their tongue in the right place to swallow something. And then when they had the movement down, I told them, now we're going to watch this I don't know, TV show, whatever, and they were eating something to for practicing, purposes while they were watching something.
Wow.
So the point is, do
fascinating.
not pay attention to the movement. There's one thing for teachers that I believe is really important.
Yes.
When we give instructions to our students, we're giving them something to focus on. I think it would be a good idea to be mindful of that. So when we are giving instructions or explaining some task, we're certain that the wording that we're using puts the attentional focus in the right spot. Tool number 6.
Tool number 6.
I don't know how to say this word. Varied?
Varied?
Varied repetition.
Varied repetition. Okay.
So we know that repetition is one of the key elements when we try to learn something.
Yeah.
We need to repeat whatever we're trying to learn.
Yes.
Right? But there are two problems with repeating something the same way all the time.
Yeah.
First, novelty goes away. And novelty is one of the most important variables when we're trying to learn something new. When something is novel and we think it's interesting, we learn faster. But if you repeat it too much, novelty goes away. Right?
Okay.
So it's going to hurt your learning in the long term.
Right. Okay.
So how can you change that variation? Right? Ways of how can you add variation to your practice session? Metronome is a great tool, right? You can play with the metronome 2 and 4, just beat 1, and then you can get really crazy and one beat every two bars, 3 bars, 4 bars, or the third triplet.
Yeah.
Second triplet.
Yeah, they know about that.
Yeah, I do that too.
I'm pointing to my students who are helping us with the camera.
Yeah, I know, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But that type of variation is gonna keep the novelty alive, to say in some sort of way. Right. And also, it's not only about novelty. It's also about transfer and context.
Yeah.
So it's very well demonstrated that when you add variation to your practice, you're going to be able to take your skill and put it in a different context way easier, in an easier fashion, because the memories you're creating are tied to different contexts, right?
Okay.
And that makes your skill more flexible.
Right.
Right.
That's interesting.
Variation.
Variation,
yeah.
Okay.
So declarative memory.
Yes.
We're going to talk about 3 tools.
Okay.
Self-explanation.
Yes.
Retrieval practice, and tool number 9, the last one, feedback.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So let's go to self-explanation,
Okay.
the first one.
Yeah.
Self-explanation, in simple words, is explaining to yourself, as the name says it.
Okay.
Very simple.
Yep.
I would say there are several keys to self-explanation.
Yeah.
The first one, you have to verbalize whatever you're trying to learn out loud or on paper or computer, iPad, whatever.
Yeah.
Explaining the music out loud is going to help you memorize it and internalize it way better.
Okay.
And faster.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
There is research, very interesting research, that shows that when musicians answer questions about the music they're trying to learn, they remember more of the music. When, a week later or 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And questions like, does the melody repeat? How long is the A section?
Right.
Is there any specific motive that's very present in the music?
Yeah. How does the song end?
How does the song end? How does it start? That type of question, and verbalizing the answer, not thinking about it again. Thinking about it is not as effective as saying it out loud.
Okay.
You want to write it down, you want to say it out loud. When you're using verbalization, self-explanation to learn music, you're creating blocks of information.
Okay.
So if you're learning, I don't know, all the things you are, right? F minor, B flat minor, E flat dominant, A flat. Yeah. You're not thinking chord by chord when you do Roman numeral analysis. You think 6, 2, 5, 1, 4.
You're giving in context for the.
And you're relating the chords with each other.
Right.
Within the context of the
tonal
key
center. The key center.
The key center.
Right.
Tonal center. Right. So Roman numeral analysis is not only useful because you want to understand the harmony. It's also useful because it allows you to create these blocks of information that allows you to process the music faster.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
gonna think ahead
Yeah.
just because you know the next block. Retrieval practice.
Retrieval practice. Okay.
Yeah. So self-explanation, the tool we just talked about, allows you to learn new information. You're processing and encoding new information.
Okay.
Right? But what do you do when you already studied something and you need to practice again to make sure that you're not going to forget it?
Yeah.
Right? Most musicians would take the music, read it again, or listen to the solo again, or something like that. That's the wrong decision.
Okay.
If you want to make your memory super strong, you're going to sit down and play whatever you remember.
So it's kind of like a test
Yeah,
of what
exactly.
what you've remembered.
Exactly.
It is a test.
It is a test, and
Uh-huh.
its effect. It's called testing effect.
I knew that. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was just guessing.
Just so smart. So sit down. You had like one practice session of a topic, whatever, like all the things you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you did 15 minutes of harmonic analysis, right? Then 4 hours later, you want to practice all the things you are again. What should you do? You retrieve the harmonic and the harmonic progression, the Roman numeral analysis
Yeah.
out loud. You don't need to play.
Wow. Okay.
You don't need to touch your instrument.
Wow.
Write it down. That's what I do with my students when they are learning this type of stuff with me, and we're like doing a guided practice session.
Yeah.
Our first step, retrieval practice of the information you learned in a previous session
Yeah.
in paper.
Write it down.
No guitar, no drum set, no anything. Write down the changes. Write down the melody. That's gonna make your memory super strong.
Okay.
And from a neurobiological perspective,
Yeah.
it was recently, like 4 years ago, I think, demonstrated that the neural pathways you use to encode information, store it, and retrieve information are different. It's two different pathways.
Okay.
So you need to train them separately.
Both separately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last tool,
Yes. Tool number 9.
feedback, right?
Feedback.
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 So you did your retrieval practice session. It could last like 5 minutes, literally.
Okay.
It could be super fast, like a piece of paper, write down.
This is just that's just a portion of at the beginning. Before you
Exactly.
start working on whatever you're gonna.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you review that
Yeah.
information that you studied your last session
Yeah.
by retrieving it on paper.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Then you have to check your answer.
Right.
And I would go in further and say, go for it and make mistakes. Like if you make mistakes, those mistakes are gonna help you remember the correct answer better.
Wow.
So there is a thing called errorful generation,
Okay.
in which it's kind of like hip right now, I would say, in psychology, in cognitive psychology, I don't know. And it's
Hip.
Yeah, it's like
The cool thing.
kind of the cool things. It's relatively, it's being more studied right now.
Okay.
So it's as simple as like sitting down and answering a test without studying the topic beforehand. So you're gonna generate mistakes.
A lot of mistakes.
It's
Interesting.
demonstrated that when you do that and then you get the right answers, you learn better and faster.
Wow.
You remember more. So when you're engaging in retrieval practice and you're like remembering the chord progression with Roman numeral numbers of all the things you are, and you're like trying super hard to remember something and you
Yeah.
can't, just write
Well,
the
it's kind of
most
like
likely answer.
it's kind of like when we make a big life mistake. You never and someone tells you what you should have done, you never forget that. Like if it's one of those glaring mistakes that you really messed up, you never forget that.
Yeah, and
You
there's
will
also
never-
like the emotional context super important too. Like if it's a big mistake,
Yeah.
you're gonna remember it because of the impact that it had, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
only
yeah.
because you had the right answer now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like making a mistake and correcting it increases the
powerful.
chances of remembering in the future, remembering the right answer in the future.
I love it.
And about that too, when you're retrieving something and you're trying to remember the information that you studied,
Yeah.
I would encourage always try to get the right answer, because there is also a chance to like store the
Memorize the
wrong
wrong answer.
Yeah, and there is some research about that. So you get the right answers. That's your feedback after retrieval practice.
Okay.
Comparing your answers to your chord progression to the right chord progression, right? And then there are like different sources of feedback when it comes to like trying to learn something. You could use the feedback from your teacher. That's one type of feedback. But you can also use like enhanced feedback. That's like a thing in psychology when you record yourself, for example. I would also recommend writing comments about your practice session. Like, when I practice, I have a comment section for like for each topic. If I'm practicing like some sort of like phrase, for example, I have like blank space in which I'm gonna write, oh, I would like to get, I don't know, faster, or like the articulation. I don't like
Seems
the articulation.
rigid.
Yeah, dynamics. Like I could add like more dynamics to the ending part of the phrase.
Yeah.
So think about what you're doing, reflect about it, and write it down.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we've said a lot. Write it down.
Writing it down. Yeah.
Say it out loud. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, it's
That's
it's
a
been
lot.
a ride.
It's a lot, but it's also it seems very practical and usable, and I can already see how it would affect my practicing already. I mean, I'm just thinking about ways of applying it on things that I'm working on now. I'm excited. I'm also working on learning a new language.
What language?
I don't want to say because
Okay, let's keep it a secret.
because I just want to one day just be able to.
Really? Whoa.
So we'll just keep it on the down low. But no, actually, it's not a new language. It's a language I already speak, Japanese, but I haven't been speaking it as much. So,
Nice.
and I'm going in August. So I'm just trying to kind of refresh my memory, also learn more. I've kind of been at the same level for a long time. I'm ready to step it up. So
Nice.
these are techniques that I can definitely see.
Definitely. For
applying.
language?
Yeah. Great. Where can people follow you? I know you, you actually teach this, and you do consultations and lessons.
Yeah.
So, kind of tell us where we can follow you and find you.
Instagram is MarioWGuitar. I have a website too, MarioWellmann.com.
Okay.
And you can like contact me through the website or email me at hello@MarioWellmann.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I have a website. It's in Spanish though. My personal website is in English, but Achieving Mastery, because I've been teaching mostly in South America. My learning system. It's the website's in Spanish, but you can contact me at contact@achievingmastery.com. .net. Sorry.
.net.
.net.
Achieving Mastery.
Contact@achievingmastery.net.
I'll put all this information in the comments in the description box down below.
I would be happy to answer questions. Yeah.
Yeah, and please leave comments down below. If you have any questions, I'll try to pass them on, or
definitely.
You can check in with.
I would say there's a ton of stuff we could change in our practice session to learn faster, remember more, and transfer whatever we're doing in the practice room to the real world, right? But it's not necessary to use all of this. You can take one tool, two tools, and that's enough to make your
see an improvement.
Yeah, exactly, to get better at learning.
Yeah.
So take one tool at a time, and that's gonna improve your practice session right away.
Okay.
You don't need to apply the 9 tools we talked about.
Yeah, that might be a little
today.
much.
That's a lot, and that's why I put it that's why I put everything on a system.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot.
Yeah.
But everything, all of this is included in my system.
Very organized. It's very organized and clear to follow. So, Mario, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great.
Yeah, it's
really.
been
I
super
learned,
fun
I
talk.
learned tons just in this session. So
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity, and like any questions, comments, just let me know, and I'm available to answer whenever.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Gracias.
De nada.
See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.